what steps do you want to take to move yourself from the place of overwhelm to the place of ease, to where you feel so fulfilled? A lot of nurses are experiencing a lot of burnt out. They're being overwhelmed on their day-to-day job. They're having to do long hours and do an extras and all of that. Having a deep reflection about this, I realized that this kind of experience is coming from working just to live and survive and not striving, right? Just to keep up with bills and to keep up with life. As a nurse, I believe we are multi-dimensional. I believe that as a nurse, you can actually become either an entrepreneur, you can become an educationist, you can even become an administrator, you can even own your own hospital. Why do we just limit ourselves to the four walls? Why do we limit ourselves to bedside? Why do we remain very complacent that we don't want to go for studies, we don't want to go to learn more? We put ourselves in that space where we no longer live and pull out the potentials that we carry inside of ourselves. Just because our jobs just because jobs is always there, just because you always get something doing, so you just find yourself so very relaxed and you don't want to push more and push further. And that is our burnt outcome. That is our burnt outcomes. That is how overwhelming starts. Hey nurses, I trust you're well. Welcome once again to my YouTube channel, Nurse Elevates, where I share tips and tricks on how you can become a better version of yourself in your career, how you can build and grow and build a lasting career path for yourself as a nurse. I want to talk about the reason behind burnt out and overwhelmed in nursing practices. What I've seen today is a lot of nurses are experiencing a lot of burnt out. They're being overwhelmed on their day-to-day job. They're having to do long hours and do an extras and all of that, just to keep up with bills and to keep up with life. And I think that having a deep reflection about this, I realized that this kind of experience is coming from working just to live and survive and not striving, right? As a nurse, I believe we are multi-dimensional. I believe that as a nurse, you can actually become either an entrepreneur, you can become an educationist, you can even become an administrator, you can even own your own hospital, right? But then why do we just limit ourselves to the four walls? Why do we limit ourselves to bedside? Why do we remain very complacent that we don't want to go for studies, we don't want to go to learn more? And I notice this amongst nurses. We find ourselves in that space where we feel that we can always get a job because nursing is quite lucrative. But at the same time, what I don't understand is why we just remain boxed in. We put ourselves in that space where we no longer live and pull out the potentials that we carry inside of ourselves. Just because our jobs just because jobs is always there, just because you always get something doing, so you just find yourself so very relaxed and you don't want to push more and push further. And that is our burnt outcome. That is our burnt outcomes. That is how overwhelming starts, right? And this is why I'm here to let you understand that this, as a nurse, there is so much you can do to be able to work from the place of ease, right? There is so much you can do. You can decide to change your specialty. You can decide to switch your roles. You can decide to even pivot into something new. Do we agree to that, right? So there is a lot that can be done as a nurse rather than working from the place of overwhelm. So why do we even experience overwhelm? Why do nurses experience burnt out? Number one, I would say to you, is lack of clarity as to what to do. When we don't know what we want, when we don't know exactly where we can flourish and thrive, we just accept whatever it is life throws at us. We accept whatever world we want to stay in, and then we don't move. And I wonder why. Because at the end of it all, nursing is quite multidimensional. Nurses have a varieties of specialty that you can really test in. You can test all of them and see which of them you would really enjoy. So number one is lack of clarity. Number two, I would say, is lack of convictions. Fear of unknown. That's the word. Fear of unknown. When you are not sure what you're going to meet in the next place, when you're fearful of what the experience will look like if I try to change my role, or if I try to move to another world, or if I try to work in another environment. Lack of certainty about your tomorrow. Being fearful is one of the reasons why people just remain in a particular space even when they're overwhelmed as nurses. You have to try for more. You have to go and test, put your leg in the water, because without that you won't be able to know if you can walk on waters. So nurses, don't be too relaxed, don't be too complacent about where you are, that you don't believe and go for more, right? Another thing I've realized that makes people, overwhelmed is when they don't have a strong, ambitious conviction. When you don't have a strong ambition that moves you in the place of learning, that moves you in the place of wanting to know more, that moves you in the place of wanting to acquire more information and knowledge, right? When you don't, nurses are so very, they've never had to struggle to get a job like that, right? It's always been moving from one place to another. It's always just applying for a role, and maybe after a few interviews you get the job. There isn't much of a competition around the job market in terms of securing one. I think that's really just made nurses to just relax and chill and say, yeah, I don't really need to learn, I don't really need to read for that. Why do I want to do a master's program? I'm okay with my BSc and RN. I'm making money as much as it's able to help me live for the next 30 days, eating from mouth to hand. And I'm like, why? You are made for more. There is more to who you can become. Nursing is so beautiful as a profession that you can maximize it across all different dimensions of what it entails and what it carries. But it takes the one that actually will move in the direction of a forward thinker, a believer of tomorrow, and believing on what you desire about life and about yourself, right? So as nurses, I really want us to start thinking outside the box. The place of feeling overwhelmed, feeling drained would not really resolve the matter, right? But what choice are you making from now on? What steps do you want to take to move yourself from the place of overwhelm to the place of ease, to where you feel so fulfilled, to where you work and then maintain a good work-life balance? Because that is all we want, where you have so much to give and to give to others, right? That is what we want, ain't it? So hence my plea to you all. Things you want to do. Number one, find a mentor to help you dissect your life, to help you identify what you carry, right? To help you identify where you can flourish as a nurse. Number two is to put your legs in the water, test the water, go around other places and see what they're doing and see how, if you would enjoy. You can tell them you want to do a bike sport. You can tell them you want to just do like a 3 months test on the ward and just work for them for 3 months and see what it looks like, or a few weeks, or whatever it is, number of times you feel you can be able to understand that place and see if it's something you like, right? Another thing is to look out for people that has walked the journey, that has gone ahead of you, and follow them. Seek their advice, seek their counsel, let them give you the guidelines, what you need to do, because it's a repetitive success. You can follow through and become exactly where they are and even surpass them, right? And number three, believe in yourself. Believe there is more to who you are. Believe there is more to who you can become, and go for it regardless. I hope this has really helped someone. If you feel that you still need some more support from me, resources that can help you to move in the direction of where you can find fulfillment and thrive as a nurse, then please by all means reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to share more with you. Please don't forget to like, to subscribe and share, and I will see you again soon.